I call the honourable member Tracy Martin.
Kia ora. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next time.
Thank you. It's interesting to follow the Honourable Nikki Kay, and I think very highly of the Minister. However, she's wrong on so many points that it's a real disappointment. And I want to address, first of all, so that New Zealand hears this, the Minister actually spoke and said that it is the national government that sets standards, and the suggestion is that the education in New Zealand never had any standards. And it is an affront to every teacher that has ever worked inside New Zealand schools that took us to the top of the OECD with regard to our results, that our people are highly recognised. Our education system is so well recognised, this government can sell it. That when those statements are made, as if we never had standards and it took a national party to put a line in the sand that says that, OK, now your children can jump over it, New Zealanders need to understand that the New Zealand curriculum had curriculum bans, and that instead of actually saying that every child at this day, at this time, after this year would actually jump over this particular line, it treated them like human beings. It treated them with a 2-year spread across the academic achievement levels inside the New Zealand curriculum. World recognised. This government put it at risk. This government then tried to convince you, New Zealand, that teachers were untrustworthy. This government and this Prime Minister in 2009 said that primary school principals lied to their parents on report cards, and that was why they needed to give them a template that told them exactly where they stood with reading, writing and maths. And that was it. No holistic vision, no aspiration inside education, and that is actually carried out. That lack of aspiration is proven through the estimates. So if people want to go and have a look at page 79 of Vote Education, let's have a look at the aspirations, what is intended to be achieved with this appropriation. Let's have a look at the aspirations for partnership schools. Let's just have a look. These were the schools that were going to be the silver bullet for our most vulnerable. These were the schools that the National Party wants to take credit for lifting achievement for our Māori, our Pacifica and our low socioeconomic. The targets for these schools in this appropriation are that in reading they will have 68% of their students at the standard, 64% in math at the standard and 60% in writing at the standard. Now, I kept hearing 5 out of 5. I'm sorry, but I kept hearing 5 out of 5 we're going to achieve these things. What we've got here is we're quite happy, this government's quite happy to have 40% fail the standard. You set it, they set it, but they're happy to have 40% fail it. Now let's have a look at the targets they put on mainstream schools. So in reading, 81%. In maths, 77%, and in writing, 74%. So apparently, mainstream schools, not funded to the level that partnership schools are under these appropriations, have got to achieve higher before this government will give them any credit. Will give them any credit. Yet they're funding partnership schools under this budget at a ratio of 1 teacher per 9 students, New Zealand. Have a listen to it. This is the same government that wanted to up your children's class size not that long ago. They're funding these partnership schools at 1 teacher to 9 students, while they in legislation have said for your 5-year-olds it can be 1 teacher to 15. And this is the government that wants you to vote for them later on this year because they are strong on education. This is who they are. Now, the Minister stood up, the National Party will stand up again and say no, more money than ever before has gone into education in New Zealand. And I'm not going to contradict them. They, of course, had to rebuild Christchurch, and that's inside that money. I mean, what were they going to do? Not build schools down in Christchurch? So don't be ridiculous. Of course there's more money because Christchurch is in there. What about there's a $4.5 million rebuild going on at Mahurangi College? Why? Because the buildings are leaky. Who passed that law? Who passed that law that allowed those materials to be used inside our state schools, so now we've got to do a complete rebuild? The Minister talked about the number of buildings that had to be refreshed and turned into modern learning environments. That money should have been set aside anyway. There's always been the replacement building fund. So that's not new money either, New Zealand. Don't let them tell you this is new money. But do ask them, New Zealand, have a look through these appropriations. How much has been spent on the patch tool? You don't hear much about the PACT tool anymore. Progressive assessment something or other tool. It's a digital tool, New Zealand, that's being created through a computer program so that teachers, not necessarily qualified and registered teachers, can go on and enter data on children.
I call the honourable member Catherine Delahunty. Tēnā koe, Miss Delahunty.